Hello, and welcome to video number 6 of the series We're All in This Together. This is a collaboration between Seniors Action Quebec and the English Language Arts Network. And today we are continuing with the series How to Use Our iPad. In today's video, we're going to talk about fake news, how to spot them, and what we can do about it. So, what is fake news? Fake news is false or misleading information presented as news. Although this term is not new, it has been overused and misused over the past couple of years. And that is why we're going to divide it into three categories so we know what is behind this false news. And these three categories are misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And I'm going to cite all my sources in the description of this video so you can read the entire articles about what we're going to talk about here. Misinformation refers to false information that is not intended to cause harm. It is also defined as the act of sharing information without realizing is false. Disinformation, on the other hand, refers to false information that is intended to manipulate, cause damage, or guide people, organizations, and countries in the wrong direction. And malinformation refers to the information that stems from the truth but is often exaggerated in a way that misleads and causes potential harm. So, what is the harm of spreading false news? Today, a fake news story can be published online and can reach tens of thousands of users by sharing it, for example, on social media. So, that's why we have to be really careful, especially in a digital era where we have social media and devices such as our cell phones, our iPads, or our computers. So, in light of this fact, when viewing content in any form, whether it's an article, it can also be a video, an image, we have to ask ourselves some basic questions to understand if this is actually valid or if we should pause and check the validity of the source. The best way to validate is to corroborate the story with other sources. If the story is also being covered by prominent news sources, then it is likely legitimate. On the other hand, if few or no other websites cover the story, it might not be legitimate. So how can we spot misinformation? And I found this other article from News Media Canada that promotes media literacy. And they have a process that is called SPOT. SPOT is an acronym, and the S stands for source. Is this a credible source? P is for perspective, is the perspective bias. And that's why it's very important to go actually to the next letter, which is O, are other sources reporting on the same story. Because if one story is biased, by us looking at other sources, it might help us see this news story from a different perspectives or different points of view. And T is for the time. Is this story timely? Because a story could have been true in the past if it was reported 2 years, 5 years, or even longer ago, but right now it is not true anymore. So in practice, what can we do to stop the spread of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation? Well, first of all, when we receive or when we come across an article in social media or an article or some sort of news that somebody sent us, even if they are a trusted source, we should pause and practice our SPOT method and see what are the sources of the news, what is the perspective, if there are other sources that are reporting on the same news, and if the story that we got is timely. If that story doesn't hold up, then that should definitely deter us from clicking the share button. And that is one of the most important things. Now, what can we do in our iPad? First of all, to check other sources, we should download reputable news sources apps to our iPad. So let's go to that. In my iPad, I already downloaded some news sources. For example, I have here BBC News, CBC News, CTV News, ABC News, CNN, and also the Montreal Gazette. The first ones that I mentioned are free, and the Montreal Gazette, as well as some other newspapers, they might have a paid subscription. In this case, for example, the Montreal Gazette allows to view a certain number of articles without paying. So I'm gonna open my app store and we're gonna click on search, and then we're gonna search for news. And here, as you see, I already have downloaded CBC News. So that's why it says open here instead of get. If there is a news app that you haven't downloaded but you would like to download, it's gonna say get. So we have Google News, CTV News, I already have it, so it also says open. Let's try some others. For example, I can check BNN Bloomberg. So I am simply going to click here on get to download this app. And now it's asking me for my Touch ID. So I'm going to place one of my fingers that is recognized on the home button. So right there. And now it's going to start downloading it. We have here BBC World Service. So let's click on it and see what it says on more. So I'm going to click here on more. This is the official BBC World Service news app, and it tells us by whom. Read the latest news headlines from BBC World. You can listen. And apparently this one is for free. So this one we can download it, and we can also see the ratings on the app. So I am also going to download this one by simply clicking on get. So I'm gonna move these ones to my home screen. And if it's the first time that you're opening any of these apps, it might ask you from which region you want to get your news. So for example, I'm gonna tap on CTV News and see how it looks like. So they're asking me if I will want notifications. So for now, I'm gonna say no. If, of course, you can say yes, but then you might notice that your iPad starts beeping all the time and it might be annoying for somebody. So I always turn the notifications off. So as I was saying, when you are starting on one of these apps, it's gonna ask you from which region you want, just to give you your local news. So you can choose whichever. I am going to choose Montreal, but you can choose a few. So I am also going to tap on Ottawa and Toronto. Done. It's asking me if I'm allowing to use Bluetooth to access scan nearby cast devices. So I'm gonna say no for now. We can always go back and change that on the settings. And then it's asking me what kind of stories I want to check. So my top local stories, top national stories, those are all start by default. Trending videos, trending stories. Do I want stories from Canada, coronavirus, politics, world, climate and environment? So this is basically which stories you want to see. Mark as many or as little as you want. If you don't want some of these stories, you can also unmark them just by tapping. And I realized my finger was not there. So just by tapping on the star, that's how you can choose or not choose some of the stories. So I'm just gonna say done for now. And this is how my feed looks like, where you can see here on top, this is my feed. I can also go back to news, videos, trending, and you can see here what are the trending stories of the day. And you have also a menu here at the bottom where you have home, local, live, shows, and more. And here on more is where we have our preferences, the about, so we can read more about it, and we can also send them feedback. So I'm just gonna go back to home and then go back to news. And let's check for the Montreal Gazette. So now I'm gonna go back here, and what I want to show you is where you can see if you need a paid subscription or not. So this is the one that I have. It tells me that iPhone users enjoy the latest story and multimedia features without a subscription. So iPad users can access 10 free articles every 30 days to sample the wide variety. So this is what it's important to notice. If you want to download any app for a newspaper, they are usually paid subscriptions, but some of the newspapers allow you to view an amount of free articles per month. So as long as you don't pass that amount, you can go without a subscription. Of course, if you prefer to have a subscription, or if you find one that you really think is important for you to have, go ahead. But it's important that you know where to find that information. So that is on the app, and when you click on more, you're gonna find it here in the description of the app. So when I'm on Facebook, on Twitter, social media, or when I receive a news article in one of my messenger apps, the first thing that I should do before I click on the share button is first read the whole story and see if the headline actually matches the story that I'm reading. And second, come and see in other news sources if they are reporting on the same news. I can also do a quick Google search if I have a news story or a headline, and then go to Google and simply tap the headline. So this is where I'm gonna tap the headline, whatever that might be, and then I'm gonna click search, and then I can review several headlines or check who is reporting on that headline that I saw on the article. Another way to make sure we are well informed is to follow reputable news sources on our social media. So whether we use Facebook, Twitter, or other social media, we can always follow some news sources. So that's why let's go to Facebook and search. And these again are just examples. So please feel free to go ahead and follow the newscasts of your preference. And actually, if you follow a variety of them, is best. And search for example, CBC News. And I have a few options here. So of course I have CBC, and then CBC Montreal, CBC News, CBC Arts. So I'm gonna click on the first one, CBC Media News Company, and I'm gonna see here. I am already following this page, as you can see here. And if I just swipe up, I can see also the about if I click on about, and just make sure that this is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I have here the details. So when you find a page of the news that you want, you simply click on follow. In my case, I won't click because I am already following. So let's go see, for example, CTV. CTV News. I'm gonna click, and the same, I can watch now, but I also have here the button for follow. In my case, I'm already following. Let's look for BBC News. This one I'm also following. So this is where I will come to read news or also to verify other sources. So that's why it's very important that even in our social media platform that we might use for entertainment purposes mainly, but we follow several reputable news sources so we have access to the news whenever we need them. Of course, there are other ways to follow the news either on the web or directly on the apps that we already downloaded. So, in conclusion, when we receive or come across an article on social media or any of our messenger apps, the first thing that we should do is read not only the headline but the whole article. Then apply the spot method as a way to validate this article. And when in doubt, do not share the article. It never hurts to not share something, but it does hurt if we are helping to spread false news. So let's stop the spread of false news whenever we can. And I'm going to leave you with a short video from the house hippos. And this was an ad that really made me laugh, but really emphasized the importance of critical thinking and of asking questions before we believe anything we see online these days. Until next time.
It looks like Canada has a house hippo problem.
Or do we? We brought back the house hippo to show how easy it is to be fooled in our digital world. Find out how to tell what's real and what's not at breakthefake.ca.